Okay guys, today we're going to go over hand tools, and here's just a few hand tools. I know it's a nice pretty pile, but see, these are some of the hand tools we're going to use this year. And I'm going to go through them pretty quick, explain a little bit about them. We have the hammer. This is actually what we call a claw hammer. Again, a framing hammer. Claw hammer actually comes through and has a U right here. And most of them you see it in your normal home is a claw hammer. This one again is what we call a framing hammer because of the shape of the head. The shape of the head is actually used for if you're on a roof and hammering, framing, doing a roof, and for some reason you slip, I can turn it over and claw myself from falling down. Okay, so that is the difference between a normal hammer that has a claw, which claws right here, or this one which is completely straight. Okay, but we'll be using hammers this year. Different type of hammer is what we call a ball peen hammer. It's flat on one side and round on the other side. This is for when we do our metal working and we need to hammer down the metal, bend it. We're going to use an anvil, and we are going to use this ball peen hammer. Another one that we're going to use is not so much a hammer. It is what we call an assembly mallet. Now listen to this. Not sure if you can hear it, but when you shake it, you can hear the sand or pellets inside. And this is what we do. We use this for when we assemble our boards. We're going to assemble them. It's not used for hammer nails, so this is very lightweight. So when you pick these up in class, you'll understand we don't use these for hammer nails in. So that's kind of what I'm going to go over for. And some of them are also called dead blow mallets. Now you'll see big orange ones. Those are, the brand name is a dead blow. But again, they're assembly mallets, and we use them to assemble our products. Okay, moving along, we have our famous tape measure. Again, tape measure, we read measurements with it. And you guys probably have seen this before, but one thing I want to talk about is this little tip. It moves. Okay, there's a reason it moves. If you notice, it moves roughly a 1/16 of an inch. So when I'm pushing against something, for example, if I wanted to measure to this, we push it, and it's going to move in 1/16 of an inch. Well, if I wanted to go in here and pull, it's going to pull a 1/16 of an inch. So it's making up the difference. So if it moves, it doesn't mean it's broken. So don't beat it down till it doesn't move, because there's a lot of people out there that don't know why it moves like that. And it's to accommodate for the thickness of this piece right here, which is a 1/16 of an inch. So don't go hitting on it just because you think it's loose and it needs to be fixed. Okay, it's meant to do that. Okay, again, nice old trusty tape measure. Another measuring device is a steel rule. You've already been using these, and basically it's just a metal rule that we measure with. And this one goes down to 1/8 of an inch. Notice it says 8 right here, so each of these lines is 1/8 of an inch, and this one goes down to roughly 39 inches. So that is a metal rule. I would highly suggest to use these to measure. It's very accurate and it's sturdy. We don't use a lot of tape measures in here. We tend to use tape measures for the construction business. Okay, couple more measuring devices. Another construction tool, but we see a bunch of them in the lab, is what we call a speed square, or we use these to measure roof lines. Okay, if you notice, there is a bunch of different measurements. You see the word hip, valley, top cut. This tends to be used to make roof lines or roofing boards. Your pitches, most houses are roughly 8 to 6/12 pitch. You'll hear those terms a lot, and we use this tool to create those. But what we're going to use them for is that 45-degree angle or the 90-degree angle. If we just want to draw a nice straight 90-degree angle, we're going to use a nice speed square on that, or if we need that nice 45-degree angle. Okay, and we use that again. We put this against a board. That's what that ledge is for. And then we can go through and draw our 45-degree angle. Okay, so that is a speed square. Next one is similar. All it is, it's very basic. It looks like an L, and that is what we call a tri-square. Excuse me. The tri-square is used just to make 90-degree angles. And if you look close, it has a little ruler on it, so you could go through and use this as a ruler as well. But it is, again, a tri-square, and it looks something like this, and it's used to create 90-degree angles. Okay, you'll be using one of those if some of the other stuff is missing. Now here's one most of us would get to use. It's the universal of all of them. If you notice, there's a lot of things going on. We have this little French curve on it. If we're out in the lab and we design some curves, we have a little drawing curve. You can see there's a level. This level, I believe, oh, it's still there. Most of the levels are already dried out. So I'll bring this down and show you. So we could go through and level something if we wanted to, see if something is level or not. If you notice, there is this nice angle right here. That is a 45-degree angle as well. We'll use it for a 45-degree angle for the most part. If you notice, there is also a ruler. We can go through and measure things with this. And then last but not least, it has our typical 90 degrees. And that is why we call this tool a combination square. It's a combination of a ton of different things. So if I ever yell at you in the lab, hey, go get a combination square. This is what you're going to be looking for because there's a combination of different items. Okay? Now that's done with the measuring items. So we're going to move on to some of the basic tools. One of the basic tools is a nice flathead screwdriver. We call these the standard screwdriver. One of the most dangerous, or I should say accident-prone devices in a shop is your standard screwdriver, because of people use it for a paint can opener. They use it for picking paint, a paint scraper. They use it for everything that's not supposed to be used for. Most of the time you're going to be using it and you got your hands here and you're trying to do something with the screw and it slips and jabs you right here in that little nice meat right by your thumb. That's the most injury that you're going to get from this type of screwdriver. Again, it's a flathead, or what we call a standard screwdriver. Then we go to the next one, which is most common. It's a little, looks like a star. This one is a bigger one, so it's not a complete star. What we call a Phillips screwdriver. Okay, you've seen these. Most of these you're going to see around in your house because they're most common in the home. And it's what we call Phillips. It looks like a little star or a plus sign on the end, and that's called a Phillips. The ones we use here in the shop, most of, and it's hard to see this on video, but that tip is actually square. We call this a Robertson's head, or a Robertson bit, and it is a square tip. We use them because they don't round over near as much as the Phillips, and it's a lot sturdier than the flathead. So that is a Robertson or a squared tip screwdriver. Okay, I'm just going to go through and do one of these just because we need to kind of understand what these are, and most people are going to call these pliers. That's fine. We have slip joint pliers. If you notice, they slide for bigger items and they get closer for items that require less space in here. We're going to use these when we get to our plastics unit because we will need to tighten some bolts down, and this will give us a good grip for what we are holding down. Slip joint pliers. Okay, we've already talked about this once. It looks like an ice pick. It is actually what we call a excuse me.